fear of being cringe is a very real thing. It can be very destructive to you if you are feeling this, and I'll explain why and how. I think it's quite sad having to feel cringe because it can really set you back and it can really kind of prevent you from going forward and going in the direction that you really want to go in. And I think it's sad and as society as a whole, where we are making someone else feel cringe over their kind of choices, or just even on the things that they like. Even just making YouTube videos, for me, putting myself out there, and it's number one, it's not a common thing, right? Like literally, I would say I've met a handful, when I say handful, people like 2 or 3 people in my whole life that make videos. And obviously there are loads of people on YouTube, but in real life, like, look around you. If you're someone that likes to post content, that makes content, look around you and look at your friends, look at people that you go to school with, people that you work with. The majority of people don't make content or don't make videos. And that's just on a video aspect. It could be something different, like you could be making music, you can have the same effect. Look around you, like, you're making music, but do other people make music that you really know, like your close friends, people you work with, people you go to school with? More often than not, no, they wouldn't. It can also be something else, like even if you have your own business, or like you are starting a business, most people wouldn't do that, right? So there's an element of uncommon ground, because I feel like other people can't relate to it necessarily. And because when people can't relate to something, and when people aren't really immersed in that kind of world, the world that you're in, then number one, it's difficult for them to familiarize themselves with, and it kind of like alienates you as a person. Inherently, people want to feel that they belong. They want to feel like you're part of that tribe, that you're part of a group, that you're not an outcast. And this is like from an evolutionary standpoint, this is an actual thing. Like the outcast, the omega or whatever, always gets left behind because they're not part of the group necessarily. Now, I'm not saying that people that make music or people that make videos are omegas, of course not. What I'm trying to say here, the point here is, when you can't establish familiar grounds, then you as a person might feel cringe because it's not relatable to some people, or most people. And this is the problem in a society standpoint. When you see someone doing this, they start kind of offloading either hate or just cringeness in general, or label it as cringe, which is also, I think, a form of hate, to be honest. But when they label it as cringe, it makes the other person, it doesn't make the other person feel too good about what they're doing or themselves. But I want to address you directly. If you are doing this, if you are making, if you're doing something that's out of the norm, basically, letting this affect you is probably the worst thing you can do to yourself and your progress. Like, think about it this way. When you start to care about people's opinions, and when people label it as cringe, you can take it to heart, and I don't blame people for doing that, because it's not nice, right, to hear. But the worst thing is, like, that could affect you from continuing to do that, and it can affect you from your progress. I think to really be successful in a niche thing, or when you do something that's very different to other people, is to embrace being cringe. Use cringe or being cringe as your superpower. Because if you can really utilize cringe, I think you can be unstoppable. Let me explain. The simple reason is, it's an uncomfortable situation or a scenario. You don't really want to do it because, or your brain is telling you that you don't really want to do it, simply because it's uncomfortable and it's not the easy route. If you can face that head on, suddenly you've just grown. because it's uncomfortable, but you still say no and you still do it. And I think that's incredibly empowering, and there's so much growth just from doing that. So honestly, once you make being cringe your superpower, then suddenly there's no fear and you can continue doing what you can do. And it's easier said than done, of course. I still go through waves of it as well, but the worst thing, like I mentioned, it to you that you can do is just completely stop what you're doing. And I think the solution to this, genuinely speaking, from both observing and just experience and also researching as well, I found out that it's really like, number one, whatever you're doing, whatever that is that you're doing, whether it's making music, whether it's making videos, whether it's you've got your own thing going on that's completely different, and whatever the thing is that is making you feel cringe because of other people, number one, ask yourself, is what you're doing 100% you as a person? Is that you? And is that also where you want to go in the future? Like, is it 100%? And first of all, if you realize that yes, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to take my life, this is the direction I want to go in, then number one, you've affirmed to yourself that that is the main intention, and that's good. Because if you're not too sure about that, then you can let other people's cringe conversations or comments get to you, and say, like I said, it wasn't 100%, it's actually like 60%, then I will crumble. In the future, cringe will never go away, but if you're at 60% or whatever, you will crumble, and you don't want to get to that stage. And to not get to that stage, you need to make sure that you're 100% in this. Number two is that understanding and realizing that if you let them affect you, if you let cringe affect you, then that's going to hinder your progress. Because what if tomorrow I just stop making videos? My channel's not going to grow. I get a lot of enjoyment out of making videos, so I wouldn't even have that. Or what if artists like J. Cole or The Weeknd, Ariana Grande, Joji, like whoever, what if artists just stopped making music because they felt cringe? Like, this is what I mean, like, you have to feel cringe. Like, if you feel cringe, it's actually a very, very good thing, I think. It means that you're unique, you're different, and you want to you just continue doing it. Continue doing it, because people that have really achieved an amount of success all have gone through cringe at early stages of either their career or their life, because what they were doing initially, they had no attraction, they weren't established, and it was different what they were doing, but they kept doing it. And this is what you need to do, it's being consistent. And if you're going to allow cringe to come in and stop you from being consistent, you're not going to get to that stage that you want to be. So the solution is simply acknowledge, number one, that you are feeling cringe. Number two, you have to realize that is what you're doing 100% you and 100% where you want to go. And if it is, that's great. Number three is to not let any cringeness get to you, in the sense that you stop being productive and you stop being consistent. It's simple. Good luck.